Welcome to the Let's Get Ready to Talk Schmoedown podcast. Introducing your hosts, Justin Hamilton, Ferris Muthana, Bidor, and Suge Knight 323. Now, let's get ready to talk Schmoedown.
Yo, what's going on? My name is Suge Knight 323, and I'm here with my boy Ferris, Mr. Muthana. How you doing today, sir?
Bro, I'm so excited, man. I'm so excited.
You're excited, man, because today we're doing an interview.
Yes, we are.
With a manager. And so why don't you go ahead and tell us who we're interviewing today, Ferris.
He is Boston's man, the pride of Boston, the red-headed fury himself. That's not Alicia Malone, but we love him just as much. He is the man who talks at 1,000 miles a second. He is the man, the myth, the manager of the Quirky Mercs, Mr. Coy Jandreau.
What's going on, Coy? Hey, how you doing, sir? How's your day going? We just talked a couple of minutes, but you said you've been running around today. Been busy?
Yeah, man. Wednesdays are usually my get everything done in the middle of the week. I have shows Monday all day. I do all my podcasts for 2 weeks at a time. Monday I pre-record. Tuesday I've got 3 things on YouTube. Wednesday's the errands and miscellaneous, and it became all of the last 2 weeks plus voting plus it's just today's been peak chaos. I got up at 5 a.m. and I have not stopped moving in 11 hours. But
wow.
I've only got about 6 hours left of stuff to do, so I might even sleep tonight.
Nice.
And, I mean, you need to get some sleep because you are a manager. You're one of the top managers in the Schmoedown, and we're going to talk all about that and talk about all the good things Schmoedown. And recently, you are a champion manager, which must feel awesome to say. But first, Coy, let's start off with the easiest question. You know, we're in a quarantine right now. How are you doing during quarantine?
I'm an extrovert, and a half. I'm so much better at being in crowds than being alone, and I'm so much better at getting energy from others. It's just how I'm wired. That's why I'm a host. So it's been really interesting because I really struggled the first half of the year, and then I kind of started looking at what I got out of alone time and what I could do to refuel things. And it's still hard every day, and it's still a battle, but now I'm seeing it as a benefit. This is a situation hopefully we're never in again, and I'm learning to appreciate some of the things. So I can't wait till it's over. But I'm seeing the benefits of I always thought I'd do well in prison. I always thought if I ever did some shit, I'd be yo, I'll get buff, I'll read all the books, I'm ready. And then this is the closest to prison I hope to experience, and I'm yo, I suck at prison. This sucks.
Well, I would disagree with you, Coy. I would disagree with you because you throw up your on Twitter, you throw up your workout videos, and they're great. You know, because you do the boxing, you do some workouts. I think you might be made for prison, but hopefully you don't go to prison.
But find out further.
Right. That's very true. So, Coy, one of the things that Ferris was saying that he's such a big fan of yours was because of you. You were in movie fights. And you said that's why Christian thought you would be good at Schmoedown. So actually, you did not start off as a manager. You started off as a competitor. And so I wanted to talk about those early years as a Schmoedown competitor. How was that experience being a Schmoedown competitor?
Man, I love the game. I really appreciate the work that goes into it. It's a well-oiled machine. I love the sport of it, and I like playing. But I think I joined 2 seasons too late to be as good as you need to be at this level of game. I played season 5, I think it was. I would have been okay season 3. I would have been incredible season 2 and 1 when the difficulty wasn't quite. But I joined right as the Inner Geekdom started going towards where it is now. The difficulty started to accelerate. And I think if I'd played singles in season 5, or if I'd played teams, if I'd done anything but Inner Geekdom, I might have had a chance. But I got thrown in the deep end right as it was getting harder. I did beat Kalinowski, which made it seem like I was better than I was because it's Kalinowski. So again, then they were let's put up against Mara. I literally faced Mara my second match, I think. So there was never a chance that this guy was going to beat Mara Kanopik. So I really loved the game. But I realized the stuff I loved was the entrances, the music, the theatricality, the flavor, because I can argue my ass off. Like I love movie fights because it's shaping opinion, and it's nudging and directing, and it's the power of speech. It's not retention. It's not memory, because I don't watch movies like that. It's just not how I consume art. I experience the art, and I don't think of the details. So I forget shit that, like, my favorite movies, I forget stuff because I just don't absorb art that way. So it was really hard for me because I felt like a bad fan, but I realized that's just not my way of thinking. So as soon as I realized like what managers did, then I kind of like started focusing there, and I repped Winston and Stacey Howard season 6 for a live match. We did, in my opinion, one of the best entrances ever. And then I realized, like, this is what I want to do in the Schmoedown. So I asked Christian, and then we made season 7 happen. And I think it's where I belong, and I'm really happy I made that transition. But I do miss movie fights because that's my jam. That's my strength.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about movie fights. Go ahead first.
No, I was about to say, like, you realized that you wanted to be a manager. Wow, what are like the key differences between being a manager and being a player? Because most managers, they're former players, except except Roxy, Gucci, and Shannon. But I think everyone else has played. Like, how's that being a former player and a manager, like former player, help your managerial prowess?
Well, because I know what it helped me studying skills. I know it helped me calm down. I know how to navigate the game from the perspective of, like, I'm about to dive into it. So I think having played those 3 or 4 games I did really helps me go, like, oh, I know how intimidating the lights are, metaphorically and literally. I know how difficult studying is. I know what that pressure is. I know how to promote this. So I think it's invaluable. I didn't play much, but I think each and every time I played helped shape my managing style.
Yeah, and you've had one of the best managing styles. I believe the managers this year have really stepped up the game, but the 3 that a lot of people were, because obviously everyone thought Gucci was going to be a great manager. You know, everyone's, RMB, they thought was going to be okay. But
Roxy.
you, Winston, and Roxy, obviously, but you, Winston, and Shannon have really taken the game to another level. And those have kind of been your, like, nemesis this year. Like, those 2 and you have, like, been, that's all we see. It's like, oh, if it's Coy and Shannon, or it's Winston and Shannon, or it's Coy and Winston. And so it's been great to see. How has it been battling not only them, but all the other managers? And what have you got to know about them as colleagues and as friends?
Well, out of all the managers, I knew Roxy the most because we did DC Movie News together. She's a Boston girl. Like, Roxy and I have known each other way before the Schmoedown. So going up against Roxy, it's only happened a couple times, but it's always fun because that's the familiar. Like, the Jericho Smith match. Like, I know how to get at Roxy, and I also apparently know how to get under Jericho's skin because he got mad quick, and I was very proud of that. And I think that's the specificity of that. But I didn't know Gucci all that well. I was intimidated by his roster, but I knew his manager style from seeing him live at a couple things. Winston gives me credit for his managerial style, which is so flattering because if I'm going to lose, I want to lose to Winston. Like, Winston and I get along very well. We're very similar. We have a lot of same taste. We see the game very similarly, and we like a lot of the same shit. So Winston saying that, like, I helped shape his manager style is very flattering because he's the guy I want to win Modi if I don't win. So whenever I went up against Winston, it was always like, win or lose, I'm happy because one of us is winning this match. Like, either I'm getting another win or the guy I want to get the Modi, if not me, wins. Shannon's tricky because I respect Shannon like crazy. I truly think she's an incredible manager. I think she's smart. I think she handles the game well. I think she's captivating. But heel teams inspire heel fans, and I don't like assholes. And so I don't think Mike's an asshole. I don't think Shannon's an asshole. I don't think any of that. But I do have a problem with some of the people that, like, think that's an okay way to talk to people that don't realize it's part of the flavor of the game. Like, Mike's one of the nicest guys in the world. Mike's a sweetheart. Sometimes he as KO says stuff that, like, is part of the game. Like, it's from a place of heart, but it's also like, I know he wouldn't punch a baby. Some of the people that follow these people would punch babies. And that's a struggle for me because I don't like to deal with people shit. Like, sometimes I'm in the live in a match that I'm watching after. Like, when I've finished the match and I watch the replay and I watch the live chat go by, And there's just some of the biggest assholes, like win or lose, they're just dicks. And I feel like sometimes that the heel brings those kind of people out. And like, I don't tolerate that shit. So it's nothing against Shannon. It's nothing against KO. It's just, I know when I'm playing them, I have to prepare for a certain amount of cunts.
Yeah, yeah. No, and that's true. And I think a lot of the fans and fans as us need to understand that it is a show. There is the show element, but there also is the competitive element. And it's okay to be competitive, but I don't know you as a person. You know, I've gotten to know some of the Schmoedown personalities, so I can talk to them. But there's some I don't know Coy, so I can't talk to him a certain way. You know, eventually, if I got to know you, maybe that would come down the line would be okay. But as a fan, I don't know you, so I have to, you know, at least be respectful with what I say. And you know, I think that's what one thing fans need to learn to do is, you know, be respectful. Understand it is a sport, but it also is a show. So the way they go after each other, it's not real. Like I know we love it, it's fun. Like I was going to ask you, I got so excited when you actually went after Shannon in that championship match. Like that, I did not see that coming from you, and it excited me because I was like, oh, wow. But I know it's not, it's
a show.
It's a show. You're passionate about it, but you don't really hate Shannon, but you went after her, and it was amazing to see because you were sticking up for your team. You're like, wait a minute, you ain't going to talk about us this way. We worked just as hard to get here. And so I loved it, and I was excited, and I was like, man, Coy came at her, and Coy's on fire, and Coy is ready to go. So I was excited about that. And we'll talk about that championship match. But, you know, how was that when you kind of unleashed on Shannon? How was that for you?
Well, I'd been, you know, the whole season, I'm with the Quirky Mercs. I've been playing it fun and quirky, and I am a very positive dude. That's authentic. That's real. There are times that I've had shitty days where I've had to be like, okay, remember, this is a good time. Shake it off. Go into the game. Like, you have to, you know, separate those things. But overall, like, it's not a put-on thing. I am genuinely that optimistic. But I also know the last thing people would expect is for me to come out the gate like that. So I knew the best way for people to get jarred at the opening, including my team. Like, I wanted my team to be able to be comfy because I came out different than they expected. I didn't warn them. I didn't tell them I was going to come out that way. So I wanted my team to be like, whoa, Coy's like super invested in this championship without me putting pressure on them. It was a way for me to like go, this is a different animal, but it's not you guys' pressure. It's pressure because it's a championship. So that it definitely shook. I think it shook Chance and Mike a little bit. I know it definitely, Shannon didn't know what to do with it. So I think it impacted the whole opening. And it's also a championship. You want to go in different. Like, there's a reason Conor McGregor makes $40 million and some fighters make $4 million. Some fighters make $40,000. Like, there's a reason, there's a certain amount of quality of showmanship that's important as well as how you actually do. So I've been saving that shit for a championship. I'm like, I'm going to play this different. I'm going to surprise people. I'm coming out. This is important. And yeah, it was all very calculated. And, it was fun, man. To add a little flavor to my usual management was a blast for me.
No, yeah, it was awesome. I loved it, man. I really loved it. Go ahead first.
No, I was going to say, Coy, can you take us into your managerial style? Because we had the Real Rejects on recently, and they sang your praises and talking about the only, you know, if they do come back next year, they're only play for you. Can you take us into how they've helped you and you've helped them, and the symbiotic relationship that you've helped your team, like them, Shazam, Tim Franco, Mara? Like, can you take us inside the inner workings of the Quirky Mercs?
So the Real Rejects were the team that no one counted on, and I liked that because I knew how smart both John and Greg were individually, and I knew they just needed a manager to have a way better record than their record reflects. Like, they are way better than the numbers they are on the stat board. Like, all of those live appearances where I was like joking we're a 5-2 team, like, I wanted to get us to a better place. And they have a sense of humor that I really respect. So they're a great microcosm of the macro of how I manage. I look at my individual players, I look at their strengths, I look at their weaknesses, I look at their gameplay style, and I think about how I would play the equalizer of shaping how they go into a match. I don't look at the Quirky Mercs as one thing. I look at it as 10 individual players, and then how do I unite them as one faction, one family? So everyone, I navigate differently. I direct each and every person differently. I even direct John and Greg differently. So it's really tricky in the live events, like the throwdown in New York, where it was Dan and then the kid against Beast. I had to actually oppose. Like I had to direct them separately against each other. And that was so hard. But luckily I do think of all the different moving pieces as different things. So my biggest thing is I want to make sure people go into this wanting to have fun, because if you're in your head, you're not going to play well. And a lot of sports are like, yay, just have fun. This one, you really need to be clear-headed. You need to remember you enjoy movies. You enjoy these arts. You enjoy these things. You play better that way. So my first priority is making people have fun. My second priority is making people realize how much they know. I love just going like, hey, let's just dive into some random shit, have a conversation, and then go like, look at all the things you just mentioned, you crazy fuck. Like, it's insane what you know. So there's a bunch of little things I do that I can't fully give away, but I do a lot of things that are morale boosting before we even get close to the match. I want to make sure people are having fun. I want to make sure they're comfy. And then when it comes to like new players like Kevin, I send Kevin matches. We talk about them. I explain the rules of the game, but I try not to make it as intimidating as it feels sometimes once you're under the lights. Like I get very broad. And then as we get closer to the match, I narrow it down. I explain 15 seconds, JTE, all those things. Because if you give someone the rules to the Schmoedown in one go, it's going to be like, I don't want to do that. That's a lot. Like it seems, but if you broaden into the narrow, so with Kevin, it's more about, making sure that he's having a good time, because that dude's given me so much. That guy gave me a childhood and an adulthood. He helped inspire my career. So I was like, I'm going to show you something you're going to love in nerddom you haven't done yet. So my whole thing with Kevin was just making sure that he was like in the headspace to be like, this is the shit. And now he just wants to play all the time. Like Kevin's so excited for his next match. Kevin wanted to play the next week. Kevin's like, it's just a matter of getting schedules to line up. Kevin's all in. So that means I'm doing my job for me if someone that gave me so much gets something out of the Schmoedown.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, we're going to bring in our other co-host. He's a little bit late. What's up, Justin? So talking about Kevin Smith, you had one of the, I think, most successful throwdowns this year with Kevin Smith versus, Chris Jericho, to where it was one of the most exciting matches that we've seen this year. A lot of people were like, oh, okay, it's two celebrities, whatever. But it actually was one of the best matches of the year. How was that experience? Obviously, you just said Kevin Smith is giving you your childhood. He's inspired you. But also, how was that working with Chris Jericho? How was that whole deal for you, and how was the experience for you?
So I actually don't know wrestling that well. I know there's a lot of crossover in the comic book world, the movie world, and the wrestling world. So I know a lot of people that love it, respect it. I have friends that are professional wrestlers. I just don't know the world. So I only knew Jericho as an abstract. So it was really, really fun for me to like straight go at a guy that I didn't know. Like I know Schmoedown competitors more than I know Jericho. So I was like, I'm just going to find stuff and go at this guy. And it's fun because he's such a charismatic performer and he knows how to talk shit, which means I didn't feel bad. Like we got to actually have a tete-a-tete. So for me, Jericho was a blast because I trusted he knew that I was just like going at him for fun. I didn't think I'd actually have to like run from Jericho in the street, which I would. He's a big guy. That was really fun for me as someone who was like, I get to, through the safety of my camera, go at a world wrestler that's got 100 pounds on me. Let's dance. So short of us having a live event where Jericho performs in 2027, I'm fine. But until that day, so I dug that. And then like the spectacle of such a big live event, like because it's going to bring a new audience, I did that management differently. I didn't have any of my challenges in mind. I wasn't going to argue it. Like at one point, Jericho did Rush Hour with writing hour and then using Rush. Hilarious. Showmanship, fun. I know managers that would have challenged that just to like stall the game, and that's not me. So like it was cool because I know new audience members are going to come watch this. It's about showing them what a great world this is, what a great sport this is, what a great universe you're welcoming in. So that match I knew was a big deal, and then the fact that it went as hardcore as it did, the fact that it went to sudden death, the fact that people slept on Jericho and he was a champion, the fact that he got points on Kevin Smith's slice. Like it was a dream come true. Everything was great.
Yeah, for sure. That was one of the funnest matches, and the fact how it ended. the fact that we landed on Kevin Smith's wheel, or Jericho got opponent's choice, and you get, but then for Jericho to answer all those questions, I mean, I don't think he missed the question of Kevin Smith. He went to multiple choice, but he didn't miss a question. Justin, what did you have for Coy?
Yeah, man, like running a little late, obviously, but on top of that, like I have to get ready for we're so big now. I don't know if you noticed this, Coy, but we're so big now. We have multiple shows, one of them being a Star Wars show that I'm also getting prepared for that I have to do in less than an hour. But my biggest thing with watching you throughout this whole thing, Coy, like I loved you from the beginning, obviously comic book nerd and all that. I mean, you got Deadpool sitting behind your right shoulder. That's amazing in itself. That makes people want to like you just with that alone. But the biggest thing is like, man, your energy and your positiveness, like throughout everything. Like even when COVID first started, I mean, I know somebody like you that can't get around other people and stuff. You seem like a very good people person. So like you probably love being around others and stuff, and having to be quarantined and all that stuff. Not being able to do your normal routine probably got you down a little bit. But here goes the thing. My big question I've always wanted to ask you was this. We all get the things like being positive like that and having that kind of an attitude. We get that from something or someone. What gave you that positive attitude? What gave you that where you have it today?
I think it's my crippling fear of death. I think at all times I'm aware that this could be the last day I exist. And then I go like, well, I better make it fucking count. Like it's you know, it's the end of October 2020. And even though we haven't really had a year, because this shit started in March, it's fucking October. I'm self-quarantining. I'm getting tested again tomorrow. I'm treating this the same way I was treating it in March. Like I'm just as locked down. I know parts of the country aren't, but like I'm in the city and our numbers are crazy. And I had a ton of my family get this shit. Like a lot of my family got COVID. Most of them are okay. It's been a fucking personal mess. But that makes me realize more than ever, like, just because March through October we're fucked, what if this is my last March through October? What if I don't make it to next March? Like, I better appreciate even this version of living. So even though, like, I lost my, you know, various gigs fell away, and, like, you know, I had 7 cons that I was booked at this year. I had 7 trips planned that obviously couldn't happen. I got 1 of them out of 7. I went to Hawaii, which was dope. That was February. Like, what a gift. But, like, those 6 trips, I can't think about what I lost because I have to think about what I have, because those 6 trips didn't happen. They can't exist. So I have to think like, oh, this has given me time to watch Community, which I never got to see. This has given me time to watch The West Wing, which I've always wanted to watch. Like, there are perks to it. And if I don't make it to Halloween, I better have fucking appreciated the lead up, you know? So like, I think my positivity comes from a crippling awareness of mortality, and the fact that at the end of the day, I'm a guy in a country that only has a diet dictator. He's not a full dictator. I'm a guy that lives in a country that, like, there are freedoms that other people will never experience. So I have to appreciate that, because there are people I can literally turn on the news and see worse shit. So if I mistreat my freedoms and my abilities, then I'm making someone else that's happy that it's shitting on them, like, directly. If someone's happier with less than I have and I'm being a dick, like, fuck me. Like, I'm the asshole. So I just try to appreciate everything, you know?
I will say this, Coy, you're going to have to change the word that you're using for your fear of death from crippling to something else, because you took something that would be crippling to most, right? And you make it like this, and I'm going to make you feel comfortable because you dropped the F-bomb a few times. You make it fucking a big, huge fucking positive. You know what I'm saying? Like, you take that big negative that you say you're crippled, almost crippled because of the fear, and you take that into one of the biggest positives out there from people that even, you know, maybe have a lesser fear. Don't even think about that. But you're taking that thing that you say you're like really deathly afraid of and turning it into one of the biggest positives out there. You need to change the word that you put before that fear. It's almost like you're gaining something. It's not crippling. You're gaining something because of that fear.
Well, it's like, you know, when like those like Paralympic athletes, they lose their legs and they get those awesome spring feet and they can do all sorts of crazy shit. That's kind of how I see it, you know, like, I have this thing that should be insurmountable. I'm always so impressed that people that are, you know, Olympians that are in handicapped ways that can do stuff. Like, and people that are blind that paint better than I fucking can. Like, that sort of shit. That's how I see it, is like, I'm just tweaking the perspective. It's still something I think about way more often than I should. But I made the spring knees and now I'm just like pole vaulting into it.
backflipping over death. Like you're
Honestly,
damn
man,
skippy, man, because it's happening.
Yeah.
That's the only thing certain. It used to be the only things that are guaranteed are death and taxes. Then our fucking president paid $750. So like that's not anymore. It's just death. That's the one certainty.
Right? Exactly. Go ahead, Fresh.
So
No,
and think about how cool
Continue, Coy.
I've loved comic books since I was born, and I was able to love them so loudly that I'm friends with the guy that invented that guy. Like the fact that I was able to go like, hey, this thing is so important to me, I'm gonna scream it from rooftops, and then like someone listened. So it's just like I even with everything else wrong in the world, I've got to take a step back and go like, yo, you talk about comics for a living. What a crazy life.
Exactly. Go ahead, Fresh.
No, Coy, we've talked about the Schmoedown, we've talked about you managing and all that great stuff, but I want to know who you are. You know, you're vastly into comics. Me, I started I always loved comic book movies, but I never really read comics until like high school. And you know, I always make this joke that I never knew that Spider-Man was an original. I thought it was an original concept, which I make that joke a lot, which is not funny, but it is funny. So like, what did they do for you? Because they can be multi-layered and multifaceted within so many stories of each of them. Like, what are some of the comics that you're like, whoa, this one is more than just comics and like superheroes and blah blah blah. It's like it strikes me to my core. Like I heard you talk about Saga a lot and your love of Saga. Like what grabs you? What makes a comic grab you that way?
So the coolest thing to me about comics is that they're an art form that has way less cooks in the kitchen. If you look at a comic book, you're looking at maybe 10 people. Maybe. Mm-hmm. If you're including editors, letters, like if you really break it down, you could argue that it's like 4 people, that it's, you know, the artist, the inker, the writer, the letterer, the people that you physically see, but there are people influencing and editorial and all those things. But I think that there's no other art that really is as mainstream like that, because paintings aren't as mainstream. I love a good painting, but I rarely go like, let me discuss this painting. I'm just not that sophisticated. It's just not me. And that's like one person's vision. Writing is a very individual journey, but it's through the lens of your own mind. The cool thing about writing is you sit there and you look at symbols that have been around for hundreds of years and you trip balls imagining those letters making a visual in your head. It's the closest thing to acid we can legally do in public is reading. Reading's fucking trippy. It's really weird that our brain goes like, let's play a movie because of these shapes. Like objectively, it's a weird time. So I love that comic books are the tripping balls that is reading, plus an artist shaping that experience, and then you trip between the panels. So you've got a drawing of Spider-Man here, a drawing of Spider-Man here. All of the stuff in between is here. And then these stories give you a moral compass. Then these stories imbue you with senses of right and wrong. These stories tell you stories that are budgetless. You can tell a story that's about cosmic waves, about a family going to space and being bombarded with cosmic waves, and it costs $4, the same as a story about a guy walking down the street. There's no budgetary restrictions for art. You can make whatever you want. And I read about half Cape comics and half indie stuff. The indie stuff a lot of times tells stories that movies will never tell. There's this one comic I love called Sex Criminals that's literally about this girl that realizes that when she bones, as she orgasms, she can freeze time. She thinks she's the only one, and then she's fucking this guy, and he does it. They both freak out because they both froze time together, and they decide to use that power to rob banks. They're not going to make that movie. That's not
that needs to be a movie. That needs to be a movie.
Yo, man,
that needs to be a movie.
Amazon Prime TV series right now. Give me that. Y'all done The Boys. Y'all could do this.
That's just the first 4 issues. They discover this entire cult of people that have different powers on orgasm. They discover this entire like occult. They do all this stuff. And it leads to these existential crises of self, like why are orgasms important? What is the human condition? Why do we steal? What are we as people? So it goes like blah, blah, blah. And to me, that's what comic books are. You can read this and go like, haha, dicks. And that's fine because it's funny. But you can also, and like that's the first few issues, is going like, dicks. But then it expands into like, why, haha, dicks. And then further and further and further. So like to me, comic books are a medium that are as important to your imagination as the art themselves. And like, there's so many less cooks in the pot. You're a part of the experience. When you watch a movie, you don't really influence it that much. They're telling you most of it. Like, they might like cut away in like a horror scene, so you imagine the horror thing, or like a jump scare might be because of something you're afraid of. But I feel like comic books, every time you pick one up, you're bringing yourself to the medium in such a different way. So I think comic books get a bad rap because they're seen as for children, but I think that they're what childhood represents. The difference between childish and childlike is the biggest difference in the world. I want to stay childlike forever. I want to appreciate a cloud until I fucking die. I don't want to be childish because I respect the world and I'm not like a bad person. I think childishness is inherently bad because it means you didn't grow up. But a childlike sense of wonder is what I see comic books as, and I think they're vital.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes perfect sense because, like, whenever I
so
orgasm,
many
I think I
questions.
get super strength every time.
I have
You know what
so
I'm saying?
many. I have
So,
so
like,
many questions right now, bro.
So as soon as I orgasm
So
and I'm
many.
like, oh wow, look at this. I feel like I'm super strength. Like somebody literally took that idea and what they felt like right after an orgasm and put it on the page, man. Like that. Look, you're right, man. That's pretty awesome. To whereas comic books, you could do that. Same reason why I love the horror franchise, because to me, it's no rules. I can do whatever you want to in horror. You can make it the sweetest comedy, just love story at the very beginning of a horror film, and this turn left on it on the whim, and it become the greatest horror movie you've ever seen. But it has no rules. So I agree with that.
I want to bring up what Coy said. He said when they found out that they could freeze time, they went and robbed a bank. So why was that their first instinct was to do something bad, like to rob a bank? Why couldn't they be like, oh, we can freeze time, let's go do something good with it? No, but their first instinct was, let's go get some money. See?
And that's the question.
That's the question, bro. Yeah. Oh, I love you, Coy. I love you.
Pick up sex criminals.
I love you, man. Yo, that's crazy, right? Because think about it, Suge. Think about it, man. They found out that this power they had. Let's go rob a bank. Let's go get some money. Let's go rob some savings. But they were like, nah, let's go end world hunger. They never said that. Man. They were like, let's go do something bad, right? It's like the first instinct of our mind, bro. See, that's what comic books has done for us, bro. Because like I found out, like the first comic I ever bought was Black Panther issue 1 of the Ta-Nehisi Coates version. The first one I ever bought. It's a good run. And I just think about like how like watching the X-Men comics and the way they do X-Men is like it's an allegory of a prejudice and being fearing of the unknown and thinking that us as a human species will go extinct if we like don't accept if we accept there's something that is way different from us, but they're not different from us because they're human. It's just that they're just slightly different in their DNA, like how us are, because we're all similar, right? Like everything of us is similar, but it's that little micro, like little slab of RNA in our DNA that makes us all different. It's what makes me brown, what makes Coy white, what makes my hair black, what makes Coy's hair red. Like that little small thing right there, man. Oh my God.
And that's the beauty of comic books is you can put yourself in any character. Like I know we're finally working towards, representation on screen in so many ways. But kids have always put on a mask and felt like they were that character because you didn't have to, like, Spider-Man's the one that's popular right now for anyone can wear the mask, and we've got Miles Morales. But for years, every person of every color and gender and everything has identified with someone in comic books because it's a welcoming medium. And that's what I hate about Bill Maher and the people that think comic books are for kids. It's that it's so inclusive and they just don't fucking see it. So I think comic books are the ultimate art form. Which is why I've dedicated my life to them. But it's all in how you perceive that medium.
Hey man, Bill Maher's a prick, man. He a prick.
Yeah, Bill Maher can go F himself. You know what I'm saying?
He never gonna see this. He never gonna see this, but I don't really care. I don't like the guy. The guy's an idiot sometimes. Straight up.
Dude,
he's my number 2 hated man behind Chuck Norris, for real. He's
man, why you gotta do Chuck Norris like that, dog? Come on, man. Sorry, Chuck.
Speaking of comic books, Coy, you took over a show of a very popular show, which was done by Jon Schnepp. And how was that feeling? That first off, filling those shoes, but then also you got to work. You got to do the comic book shopping with Kevin Smith. Who was the other one? There was one I watched. I can't remember. That was really good. God, I can't think right now. But it was Kevin Smith, and then there was another actor that you did that I really enjoyed. But how was doing that show for you?
So Heroes was the hardest way to get the best job. I'd known John for years. And then he brought me in to guest on the show. And then within 2 months, it was like, you want to just be on the show? And I was like, yes. And so Jon and I, immediately fell into rhythm, and then I became a regular. I got someone at my door. I'll be right back. 1 second.
Yeah, I also love that you also had the star of the Watchmen series, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, and Damon Lindelof on the show, and I enjoyed those as well. Dude, I love that show. It's one of my favorite shows.
Watchmen, I think, is the best piece of art made since Breaking Bad, like TV wise. I think Watchmen is near perfect. I got that show 10 weeks before. I'd watched 1 through 6, and then I had to wait 4 weeks to watch 7. It was so hard because I knew I was doing those episodes with Damon and Yahya, so they sent it. But I literally got to the black and white episode, and then I had to wait for the conclusion for 10 weeks. It was like the longest 10 weeks of my life. I had finished the first 6 episodes before people saw the pilot. So I was like sitting on this knowledge of like, you guys aren't ready for what's to come, and I couldn't talk about it. It killed me. So Heroes was an impossible task because I'd known Jon for years socially as friends, and then I came on Heroes, and then I became a regular, and then it was a position of like, I'm only going to do this if I think it's what Jon would want. So I talked to people that knew Jon. I talked to Holly. I talked to everyone there. And they all said, like, yeah, this you should. So once I felt like I had, like, the Schnepp approval that I could get, I wanted to do it justice. And I also didn't want to just replicate and try to be in like, no one can be Jon. So I didn't try. And that's why I really reshaped comic book shopping, because Heroes is, a very news-based show. There's only so much you can really change around. Whereas comic book shopping, I made it very different. I made it, long form interviews and then me giving my knowledge. And I basically shape what comics I pull based off the interview. But that makes it a lot harder because I basically need to know what's in the store and I need to know what runs they might like. And then I need to be plugging and pulling and shifting comic books around while they're talking, while also paying attention, while also prepping my next question. So I have to be like aware of what they're talking about, preparing my next thing. There's so many moving parts to that show, but that's why it's my favorite thing I've gotten to do, because it makes me work. It's a challenge. It makes my brain function in a different way. So like Jake Gyllenhaal wasn't a big comic book fan, but I knew there was art in certain books he did. So like Jake was a casual comic book fan. He liked the medium, but he didn't know a lot. So I didn't want to go like, here's Batman, here's Spider-Man. Okay, go play. Like that's not what you do. So that was I brought up Saga, I brought up Mr. Miracle, I brought up these more challenging comics that are like a gateway to either the weird or the cake stuff. And now Jake's doing 2 graphic novels that he's producing.
Speaking of encouraging, let's go back to the Schmoedown. You won your championship as a manager. How does that feel? First off, you beat corruption, so I know you feel good about that. But at the beginning of the year, you had the contender match with Bibbs and with the kid, and you lost to Dan. And I know, and then you kind of didn't get to play for a while. Your team did not get to play. I know the Real Rejects played a match, but you didn't really. Yeah, I think they played 2 matches, and then but your big guns didn't get to play. But when they came to play, they came to play. And so how was, first off, that run with Shazam, and then secondly, winning the championship?
So let me start with, this would have been a very different season if it weren't for COVID. Those 3 months we didn't play, or we got to play once in 3 months, was agony, because the plan, what I wanted this season to be, was Shazam gets the belt, defends it twice, holds the record. We are 2 wins away from beating the Patriots record. So that's what I wanted to do in 1 year. I wanted to be that, just aggressive asshole coach where I was like, this is the way we're going in. This is what we're going to do. Like, I wanted to come out like Belichick. Unfortunately, the Shazam couldn't play in the beginning because of scheduling, because of the way New York went, all of those things. COVID stopped everything. So basically, we got to the point I wanted to be in early fall now. I thought we could get the belt. I thought we'd land right where we are. I thought we'd get 2 more out of it. Now, we're not far off from that. We are playing spectacular as the champion. So we're already going into our first defense. We're only 1 game away from beating the Patriots record. That sounds like a pretty great way to kick off the next season. So,
for sure,
I think that overall it kind of worked out against all odds. it gave the Real Rejects a chance to play with like more focus on them. Because I feel like the Real Rejects coming back would have been less momentous if there was 100 other matches, and I feel like they play really well. They need that notice. Like I think they need to be seen more as a credible team. So it kind of worked out. I don't know what's going to happen next year. I know we only have those 3 protected players, so it's going to be a conversation of like how I pick out of my precious 10. So it's going to be a really interesting next season with how we shape it, because I've got to start not from scratch, but I have to re-look at my whole plan. So this season we did what we could with what we had. I do think we'd be higher in the rankings if I got a couple more games in. We're very consistent. We just didn't get to play for like a quarter.
Yeah, because Tim Franco hasn't played at all. Like he's just there.
Yeah,
I'm like
he played that one match.
He played the one match.
What match?
Against James. No, it wasn't against James White. It was a game.
He hasn't.
He played. Yeah, he played.
Yeah, the team's tournament. The team's tournament. Oh, the singles tournament. That's why. Oh, against Tom. Yes. Yeah. Against Tom. Yeah. But I'm talking about like beforehand. I'm like, dude, he was just sitting there. Like he was, and like Haley Fauci's just like sitting there. We're gonna finally see Haley and Perry in the teams tournament, which is gonna be very good to see. Soon. Yeah. Yeah, but some players have just been sitting there, like they haven't been doing anything. Like they're just there.
Like, we only have 10 players, so it's hard when it's Mara hasn't been feeling well enough to play, so that's been hard because I'm just trying to like get as many matches as I can. So, season 8's around the corner, but it's going to be a different animal because of these decisions that have to be made. So it's going to be that draft's going to be madness.
Actually, the thing I was about to bring up was actually towards that. Best segue in the world, and you didn't even know it was a segue, Coy. That's what I like about you, man. Always quick thinking right there. But so we know, without a shadow of a doubt, obviously, that Shazam is staying with the Quirky Mercs. Like if I had to break this down, that's what we do sometimes. Like, obviously, you're keeping both of those. Those guys are going to stay with you. They like you. You like them. Your question of what you're going to do after that would be with that third spot, because you only get to lock up 3 people if they agree to stay with you. So I got kind of like a double question here. Out of your team, who are you looking at to be locked in for that third spot? But if you got to pick outside your team and get and sign someone outside of the team for that third spot, who would you go after?
So I can't give away the one I'm keeping, because if anyone's watching this from other management, I don't need them to know. But I can give you the second one. Who I would ideally, if I could get anybody. I mean, he's not human, so I want the machine that is Adam Collins, because I'm not human.
Wow.
Like he's not a person. Whatever that entity is that plays the.
Oh, he's a coyote. God. He's a coyote, I should say. Coyote. that guy, dude. Oh my God, dude.
Just stealing my bits. He's just stealing my bits, Shug.
That's how it works.
The man is just stealing my bits.
That's how it is. In between us. Have you been impressed with the Adam Collins? Coy,
obviously, he has.
Right. No, I know that, but I mean, like a lot of people haven't talked about him. Let's be honest, nobody's really talked about him up until this final match. A lot of people were.
We don't talk about him on draft night, and I'll scoop in there, man. Let's hope dude, the kid match, they both played perfect games, and the kid didn't go multiple on one and lost. He would have beat 85-90% of any competitor with that game, and he lost. You know what I mean? Like, that's how good Collins is. The kid played one of his best games ever, and I would consider the kid a champion. I think the kid's going all the way in singles next year. I think the kid's going all the way in teams again. I think the kid is.
He could have done it this year. I think he could have done. I picked him this year to go all the way in the singles tournament.
Only lost by half a question. Like, that's what I mean. So to me, Collins, if you can beat that, come on. Like, I got to give that credit. So. And it pains me because it's one of Corruption's guys, but I got to.
Nah, dude, like it actually makes sense though, even if it's on accident, because like I don't even know how much you know about Adam Collins, but we interviewed him not long ago, and he started nerding out. He was like, "Bro, y'all do a Star Wars show?" He's like, "Yeah, we just started doing a Star Wars show." He's like, "Oh man, I'll be on that!" Like he was all excited about just being on the show that we do about Star Wars because he loves it so much. So like, and that's one thing I didn't know before the interview. And that's one of the greatest things about these interviews is being able to find stuff out like that, because that guy, I didn't know he liked Star Wars. I thought he was just like a movie snob because he goes on there and says a correction, and then he gives you the answer, right? Like, And you're just like, man, oh, dude, he's just one of these guys that all he does is watch the Criterion Collection and that's it. Nah, man, turns out he's a nerd just like all of us, and he loves things like Star Wars and stuff like that. So it's pretty amazing.
And I'm a shameless narcissist, so his name's Coyote. I'd make him go by the Coyote, and I'd just like revel in that.
Nice.
Just, like, embrace the shamelessness.
Yeah, I like this. I like that.
So
but we'll see what happens on draft. He'd be the one.
Nice. So how's it been working with Shazam? I mean, like I said, you won the championship. Bibbs was already a great player, and the kid was up and coming. But like we saw you do with the Real Rejects, what we saw you do with Perry Nemiroff, you have elevated the game, and they've all said it. They've all said, because of you, I tried harder, I studied, But these two guys, the kid and Bibbs, they were already great, but it seemed like you elevated them even more. How is it working with them two?
Well, I felt like they were at Super Saiyan level 2, and I wanted them to get them to 3 because I feel like 3 is more efficient, it's faster, it's more nimble. 2's got a lot of power, but how do you use it? So for me, it was leveling them up to a point where you could use all that power, use all that knowledge. So I didn't stress them out about studying because I trusted them with that. I didn't stress them about gameplay because I trusted them with that. So I direct them very differently, and I make sure that we're good. Like, I see Bibbs and the kid as friends now because of the season. Like, we talk like in life. And that's really important because if you don't feel comfortable with that person in your corner, you're going to feel like you're trying to like navigate that as well. So I think the best thing I could do for them was make sure they feel like they're in the game for the right reason. And I think it's really helped their gameplay because they're geniuses. They know too much. So it's just a matter of me making sure that they can use that knowledge and go into it correctly. And I think that's what I've helped out with this season. That's why I think they've elevated. And like their studying habits are insane. The way they look at this game, like the tactics, it's like when you see a war general and they've got like the next 8 steps ahead in the chessboard and you're like, but we haven't moved the pawn yet. They're like that with the Schmoedown. They're like, all right, so in the 5th round, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, 1st round, let's start there. Let's back this up. And that's how they are with everything. So they're both geniuses, and I'm just happy I can help them find a way to channel all of that. And I do think there's something particular I can do for each one of my faction. And that's another thing. I'm not going to draft anybody that I don't think I can make better. I won't be someone that sits on a player or that drafts someone that is like not able to be molded. There are certain players that even if they had a perfect record, I wouldn't draft because I wouldn't think we'd work together.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, like, you said earlier, like, you can't give away who your third person was, could be giving away too much. But like, I'm going to tell you right now, what you're giving right now to the fans, to me, with how you're talking about the strategy and how you work behind there. We've seen some of it, right? But we don't get to see all of it. There's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes. Like we get to see how you talk to your players and stuff like that during the matches. But to be able to hear you talk about all the stuff that you do that's not even on the air, that's something that we can't see, just elevates you to a certain point. There's a lot of fans, obviously, because of your personality and stuff. A lot of people like you. I mean, who can't? You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to hate you, but no, I love you to death, man. You're like one of my favorites. But that's the thing, though, is like you have that kind of personality that garners people to, like, you know, jump on that train and say maybe you're one of the best managers in the league right now. And when they hear this interview, from what I've heard, even before I came on from being late, I was backstage for a little while. What you were saying there and what you've said here in the last few minutes is some of the greatest stuff that I've heard any of the managers say. I mean, if we were doing a manager, if we were debating who should be manager of the year, I probably would go against your arch nemesis, Corruption, and Shannon Barney so far for this year for what she's done with picking up Adam Collins and stuff like that. Not just because she's a good character, but she's made some smart moves. But that's amazing, though, to see you as this superhero and her as this supervillain. You might collide. You might collide next year, bro. You might collide next year. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might be able to go in there and throw some punches at her and stuff because it seems like you got your stuff together. And I know, like, all the fans that watch this is going to see this and be just overjoyed about the possibilities of what could happen in season 8. And because I'm excited about it just from the interview thing that we've done alone. Yeah, man, go ahead, man. Keep up the good stuff. I'm about to bounce because I'm about to go do the Star Wars show that we're doing. I just wanted to come in and be able to talk to you for a little bit, man. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for everything you've done on the Schmoedown, and keep it positive, my friend.
Appreciate it, man. Good to meet you, internet-wise.
All right, Justin.
I'll be at a live show, and I hope you like hugs. Because I don't give none of this. Look, I don't give none of this like, oh, let me give. Nah, bro, it's full frontal. Full frontal hugs.
Fortified, ready. Dude, I'll need them after this year, man. Next year's
I got
still
you.
hungry.
I got you.
All right, Justin. So, Coy, before we let you go in a little bit, a couple of things we wanted just to talk about, just personally about you. Where did your love of beer craft come from? I love beer, but I can't drink that craft stuff because I get drunk by like two beers and I'm done. So, but where's your love of beer come from?
So I'm a Boston Irishman, and I think that's kind of like you either go cold turkey and don't touch it ever, or you start way too young, have a bunch of really bad years, and then either discover, control, or never leave Boston. So like there's very few scenarios that work out. I luckily found the sauce way too young, stopped drinking before I was 21, started drinking again, discovered the quality of booze, and it kind of like was inevitable. When you drink just like Coors and no disrespect to Ellis, but when you drink just like that sort of thing, it's not the experience that I go for. Like I like to, like it's like a meal for me. But I didn't discover that until like the third or fourth time I picked up drinking. Because when I started drinking, I'd just be like, what do I get drunk off of? You buy like shit that comes in plastic handles. Like if it comes in a plastic handle, it shouldn't go in your body, America. But like once you get through those phases, then you're like, oh, I can enjoy being drunk and the journey. And that was where craft beer came from. Is I was like, why am I spending, $20 to get drunk and hate myself if I can spend like $25 to get drunk and have a great journey on the way there, and then maybe be a little less hungover tomorrow because it wasn't pure poison. I'm still gonna be hungover, but I'm not gonna be like, I hate the world this week. So craft beer was an appreciation for the journey, and also like it's really cool to have something that's an intoxicant that's socially acceptable. Like most drugs, aren't like a conversation you can have. Like when I talk about tripping balls, reading, and acid and stuff, there's a ton of politicians that are like, well, and whereas like I can talk about drinking, and since we've decided that that's acceptable socially, it's not like a weird put down upon. So comic books and craft beer was like, hey, people are uncomfortable with comic books because they think they're for kids. People are uncomfortable with talking about drinking on the internet. What if I make people comfortable by combining them? And that's kind of like what that came from.
Do you also make your own craft beers, Coy?
No, my dad used to, and he loved it. And I will, like one day. It's just like I live in an apartment which, if I didn't lay it out exactly like this, would feel small. So I think if I added something that would need space, I'd be like, why did I start brewing beer? Like I'd feel like I just trapped myself.
Yeah.
Nice. And speaking about comic books and brewing, you started your own YouTube channel because obviously what happened with Collider. How has that been, starting your own YouTube channel? Obviously, we were talking, you said you got to do, you have certain days where you do all your stuff, do all your podcasting. How has that been doing your YouTube channel?
So yeah, the podcasting was every week, and then recently my car exploded, so I'm vehicleless, and the studio I record in is about 13 miles away. And I'm in shape, but I'm not go every week 13 miles in shape. So every 2 weeks, I run 13 miles to go record a podcast. So I hope people like it because it's a lot of work. Because I don't feel like it's safe to get in an Uber or a Lyft. So I hustle all the way there. I record and I hustle all the way home. So I record all of my stuff for 2 weeks, all of my patron exclusives for 2 weeks, because I've got a patron exclusive podcast on top of it. So I've got an hour and a half plus the next week's hour and a half, plus about an hour for each patron podcast. So I'm there for like 7 hours. So it's a big Monday. And then I do the show called Coy Cubed, which is basically comic books, cinema, and curls, because I love working out. I love movies. I love comic books. So I thought it was funny because the English language is so broken that cinema doesn't fit in that scheme. So it's like a play on that concept, because it should be comic, kinema, and curls. So Coy Cubed. So that's my weekly show that I do twice a week. And then I also do the comic books and craft beer, all of this on my own channel, because these are the shows that a network I feel like would kick back a little bit. Like a network might not want me drinking on air. A network might be like, why are you still talking about lifting weights? No one gives a shit. But I'm like, it's my channel. I can say dumb shit if I want. So I started it when Collider, kind of fell apart. And for the record, so many people were so mad at Collider from falling apart, but the YouTube industry is not the same as it was when Collider started.
Yeah.
So I completely understand every decision that was made. Like, so many people wanted me to get mad, and I was like, no, I get it, but I can't say, like, what do you want from me? I'll start my own thing. But it's been crazy because I didn't even know what an OBS was until January. Like, I didn't know. I thought YouTube was just like I press a button and suddenly I'm there. I didn't realize there was like other shit. So I had to learn what 12-year-olds know to do a job that I've been doing in a studio for 4 years. Like, I've been doing this professionally. I had to go back to like the amateur and learn all this stuff. So I think it's going to make me a better host overall, but it's been a fucking learning curve, man. I'll tell you, going like, how do I upload? Like, it's been so weird to be like, someone did this for me. How do I learn this thing that the kids do in the 90s? So yeah, it's very, I appreciate everyone more than ever now. Like, I think it's rad. Like, your guys' setup is beyond me. You guys have like a video at the beginning and there's all these bars and graphics. And I'm like, shit, I press play sometimes and get lost.
Yeah. What's the button? Which button is it, Maureen? Which
files
button?
Are in the computer.
It's been very interesting because we actually started this podcast just because, and we were just like, we want to talk Schmoedown, but we don't know if anybody's going to listen to us. And we started it, and next thing you know, like, we're doing live shows, we're doing interviews with Schmoedown personalities, you know. So it's been an interesting journey for us because I've never hosted in my life. Ferris has never done a podcast. Justin's never done a podcast. And now we feel like we've been doing it for the last 3 months, and it's just like, it's a job for us now. It's like, all right, we do this.
Great, man. I've seen your show before I was on it. You guys do great work. Like, it's rad to just do things, because sometimes you're like, oh, a thing I can do.
Wait.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Wait. You watched our show?
Yes, I've seen your show. I've seen a few clips, and I've seen like 3 full episodes.
Now I'm trying to remember if I said anything bad.
You never know who's watching, which is why I'm not giving away any managing secrets.
Yep.
I'm good. I'm good. We're good. Yeah, I've never insulted the Quirky Mercs. No.
Cut to being like, so he wants Collins, eh?
Right.
Interesting.
Some other things maybe people want to know about you. Who's your favorite comic book character other than Spider-Man?
I mean,
obviously maybe Deadpool. But...
Well, yeah. Say other than Spider-Man and Deadpool. Let's point that out because it makes it much easier.
So this is a character known as Mr. Miracle. We talked about Saga earlier, but I feel like I got to give this guy some love. This is a character that shouldn't be cool. It's a Silver Age character, and his name is Mr. Miracle, and he can escape anything. He was written in the time when the superheroes were like, you just give them a power. So his name is literally Scott-Free, and he's an escape artist. That is the lamest set of powers ever. Somehow, they rewrote him in a modern setting where Tom King, a writer that's on Batman, he's actually helping Ava DuVernay. He's co-writing with Ava DuVernay, the New Gods movie. He's a genius. He wrote Vision. He's got a ton of Eisners. He wrote a run of Mr. Miracle where basically he wants to escape his own existence, so he tries to kill himself. So what's an escape artist that can't escape death? Is he escaping life or is he escaping death? What is it to be a hero that doesn't want to live anymore? So it's literally an existential crisis about what it means to exist. And he's a god. He's one of the new gods. So what happens when a god dies? So there's all of these existential questions that are huge. And it's about a character that should suck. So I love this book because it shouldn't be as good as it is. And that's just the first 2 chapters. He then, his wife and he get pregnant. So they're having a child. He himself is the son of Darkseid, but he was given, so there's 2 gods. There's the good god and the bad god. The bad god is Darkseid, and the good god switches sons with Darkseid in order to make a peace treaty. So he's technically the son of the good god, but he's traded to Darkseid and raised in hell his whole life. So the bad god is raised in heaven, and then they're feuding forever. So the whole back place of the story is a war that's been going on for centuries. Now he's having a son, and Darkseid wants his son. Like it's this insane mythological tale, and it shouldn't be good, but it's dope.
Does this involve any mother boxes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, that whole
world. I have not read a comic book since I was 13 years old, and you're making me want to go read comic books now because I have not read one since so long. But I did see a post on Twitter, and I did want to ask this before we let you go. Physical media versus digital media.
Physical.
What's the best way
100%.
to consume? Okay, so what's the best way to consume comic books? You're saying physical.
You buy the comic, you buy the. Oh, Coy, I gotta show you something, man. I gotta show you something. I gotta show Coy something.
I buy Blu-rays. I buy comics. I buy physical as much as I can. Sometimes I got to go digital for comics just by the sheer number of long boxes I own. Like if it's a title I don't collect, I might have to read it digitally. But overall, I like to hold my shit because licensing rights change, streaming services go under. Apple got rid of iTunes. Amazon today was like, you don't actually own that shit you bought. Like, buy stuff. You see that thing in your hand? That's never gonna not be yours.
One of my prized possessions, the deluxe edition. The deluxe. This isn't the regular set. It's the deluxe one. My mentor. I call him my mentor, but he really doesn't know he's my mentor because I've never told him he's my mentor. So my mentor, he was one of my guidance counselors. He owns this book, 7 versions in 7 different languages. He loves this book with all his heart. And I asked him, I'm buying the Watchmen. I'm finally gonna buy the Watchmen book because what should I get? And he was like, you get the deluxe edition, Ferris. You get the deluxe edition. You get the deluxe edition now. And I was like, okay, cool. Deluxe edition. So my prize, this and the Ken Knapsack book are my prize book possessions. Those are the only.
And that's never gonna be taken away from you.
They're mine. Oh, and Brad Gilmore's Back to the Future book. I don't know.
And that's why physical media. You're supporting artists directly. Those are never going to be ripped out of your hands. Those are yours to own. So I personally am a physical media guy because not only does it feel more like my money went to something, I also just have a weird thing. If I throw $20 at Amazon and I watch a movie, I'm like, well, I guess that's mine. Like I never hold it. It doesn't feel like I acquired anything. So I like physical media.
I have a question, man. There's this big debate between graphic novel and comic. Like people are calling these a small version of comics individually wrapped together in a graphic novel. Do you think this is a graphic novel or a comic?
So to me, comic books are weekly. They're the floppies. Like I buy weekly comic books, and then they assemble those into those. Those to me are graphic novels. Gotcha. I think there's merits in both. I don't have the Saga individual issues because I have the hardcovers because it's a bigger print and it feels more like an art book. So to me, I like that Saga, it's every 18 issues in one hardcover. So 18 issues and it's a bigger page and it's a more lush print and the paper quality is better. So to me, if it's something like that, I like to have a graphic novel. Usually I like to buy the individual issue because I like to read them as they come out. I like to have all of them bagged and boarded. Usually graphic novels won't go up in value unless it's a deluxe edition like yours or something rare. Whereas individual comics, you never know what breakout character is going to debut in an issue. Like Silk is going to get a movie. She debuted in Amazing Spider-Man Volume 5, Number 4. That issue shouldn't matter. That series of words I just said is like, yeah, but because Silk debuted in it and she's getting a movie, that comic's worth way more than issue 3 or 5. If it was a graphic novel, it doesn't matter because it's a reprint. It's like buying the third print of an album. The first print of the album matters. So I like comics because it's that first print. It's that first time you get the experience. I'm never going to sell my comics. I'm probably going to either make sure my children get them or be buried with them. So it doesn't matter that they're worth more to me, but I like knowing that I'm supporting the art directly and I was there for the whole journey. So that's why I like individual issues.
Nice. You're now making me. I might go to the comic book shop right now because I haven't read a comic in so long, but I used to love it as a kid, and I just stopped. Okay, I'll check it out. I'll
Dude,
check
Tom
it out.
King, Mr. Merrick, it's only 12 issues. You can buy one graphic novel and read the whole story. You literally won't have to read anything else. That is a perk of graphic novels. You can get a whole experience in one book.
Nice. So Coy, this has been amazing talking to you. It's been an honor. We really appreciate it. But we're going to give you a couple minutes to speak to the Schmoedown community, whatever you want to talk about, and then go ahead and plug all your shows, podcasts, whatever you want to talk about, your social media. But I do want to give you a couple minutes to talk to the Schmoedown community and tell them whatever you want to tell them. You can tell them to go screw themselves, or you can tell them to make sure to watch the Quirky Mercs. It's up to you. But we want to give you that opportunity to do that.
Schmoes, I appreciate you. Definitely not screw you. I appreciate you. Many hugs at the next live event. You can find me at Coy Jandreau on Twitter and Instagram. You can find my Coycast, Spotify, iTunes, everywhere podcasts are. Coycast is. And my Patreon has an exclusive Coycast, as well as, I rate every single comic I read every week. So if you want to find out what I thought of the 40 comics that came out that Wednesday, that's one of my tiers. If you want to talk in the Discord about comic books, I jump on there twice a week that's one of the tiers. If you want to tell me like, hey, I like this movie, would you review it? That's one of the tiers. I review stuff that you want me to. We also do watch-alongs every month. There's tons of stuff in the Patreon. And I've got my own YouTube page, which has weekly shows, which has movie reviews, which has comic books and craft beer, which has all that stuff. I don't like free time and I don't sleep much. And in addition to that, I can say exclusively here, I can't reveal what it is yet, but there is an announcement coming on Friday. This Friday or Monday, depending on signing documents, there is a big announcement coming, a new show coming from me that you're going to be very excited about that is debuting in a week, but hopefully I get to announce it this week, so that's coming very soon. So hunt me down on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Coy Jandreau. I appreciate all of you schmoes. This guy has sat behind the Quirky Mercs all season. He's been a good luck charm, and we're really excited for Season 8, but that's not yet because Spectacular is coming, and Spectacular is going to be insane, and I cannot wait to see you there. And these guys are great. Support their channel. Like, subscribe to this, because these guys have been rad. And remember, they just started this thing because they wanted to do something. Remember, you can just do things. Think of what you want to do and just create. These guys made a whole channel out of just creating, which is very, very rad. So I appreciate you having me on.
No, thank you, Coy. We appreciate you coming on and giving us the opportunity to talk to you. Good luck at Spectacular. Good luck with the rest of the season. We cannot wait to see more of you. And we're excited about everything that's come from you. And congrats on your announcement. And I hope it works out. And I can't wait to hear it. I'll definitely make sure to be ready for that announcement Friday or Monday. Make sure to follow Coy's Patreon. That sounds like an awesome. I might even join it now because I want to learn. I want to start doing more comic book stuff because he just got me jacked for comic books. I don't know why. Ferris, go ahead and plug all the stuff that we need to plug, like
guys,
audio and all that stuff.
Yeah, make sure everybody. We also got an audio feed. If you guys just want to listen to us, you guys just want to listen to Coy, just want to hear his voice. We have an audio feed. We're on Apple Podcasts. Rate us, review us, drop a comment. We're on Spotify. We're on Anchor. We're on all the stuff, so y'all can see us there. Make sure to follow us at Let's Get Ready MTS on Instagram, Twitch, and Twitter. Like this video, comment on this video because it actually helps with the algorithm, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed before. That's all I got.
That's all we got. Thank you very much, Coy, again for coming on our show. We really appreciate you, man, and can't wait to see what else you have in store for us. Thank you for everyone that follows. Appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you for watching the Let's Get Ready to Talk Schmoedown podcast. We hope you enjoyed yourself. Make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch.